Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Strike Zone with St. Paul Saints Manager George Tsamis. Strike Zone is a weekly program that gives you, the fans, the opportunity to ask the St. Paul manager questions about the Saints, baseball, or sports in general, or just seek George's wisdom about life events. In this week's program, George talks to us about the hitting streak of Tony Thomas. He shares with us his baseball insights, and George explains why a bad relationship at home can lead to a large slump at the plate. So let's get right to Strike Zone. So let's welcome back Manager George Tsamis. George, last day of the road trip, so tell us some team updates you have for us.
Yeah, it's been a long trip. Well, obviously, I believe we talked about it last week that we lost Jeff Shields to Mexico. So we had signed Benji Waite, who he met us in Laredo. He did a real good job the other night, too, and he came in, basically loaded one out when we were losing by a run and held them there and pitched two more scoreless innings and just did a great job. So it was nice to have him with us. Michael Martin was traded to Lincoln for Zach Westcott and a player to be named later. Gil Martin was doing well for us. He's a super kid. The only reason he was traded was because of the classification rules that we had one too many, and and we have a few guys that can play short. So that's why he was the one to go. We could have put him back on the Phantom DL again, but we chose not to, and talked to him about it too. And I felt we needed another right-handed reliever, and we liked Zach Westcott last year, and so we got him in the deal. And he's classified as a rookie, which is very valuable. That maybe people on the outside don't really understand that part of it, but to have a rookie that can contribute is a good thing to have.
This is his second season in the American Association, is that right?
Yes. The first season is basically a free one.
Okay.
But he is still classified as a rookie.
Oh, well, that's good. So that fit in well.
Yeah, it's okay. It's like I said, we didn't want to get rid of Gil Martin. Try some other things too, and thought we maybe had another deal, but that one didn't work out, and this one did, and it's just, I don't know, it's just the classification rules. You're allowed a certain amount, and we've been won over, the whole season, so it's just, the options were to trade them or to put them on the Phantom DL again, and that's what ended up happening.
Before we head into our fan questions this week, there's a couple of questions I had for you myself. I first of all looked at the purchase of the Diamondbacks getting Travis Denker from Laredo, and one of the things I hear from a lot of the scouts for affiliate clubs is that if a guy's like 26 or 27 years old, they think that's too old. Denker's 30. Do you see this as some affiliate clubs choosing just the best player and not worrying about age anymore?
Yeah, I'm not really sure. I mean, he is a good player, though, and he's been a good player for the last, couple of years, and obviously we don't see him play that much. We see him play a few times, but I thought he was a good player, but, he is 30, and I don't know the situation behind it. Maybe they had a need at AAA. I really don't know the situation on that one.
Okay. The other thing I want to ask you about, Tony Thomas reached 23 straight games with at least one hit. How's he looking and feeling right now, do you think?
Yeah, he's swinging the bat real well, and he's been pretty clutch, and just he's such a valuable guy to have, and he can play infield, outfield. And he just come up with some clutch hits, and like I've told you all along, and this game's about hitting with guys on base. Not hitting with nobody on base. It's hitting with guys on base, and he's done a great job. Coming up with those big hits.
Well, let's head into our fan questions this week. We first of all begin with Jim from St. Paul. Says, George, you're playing a night game in Amarillo on Wednesday, then you have to go 12 hours to Sioux Falls to play a game the next day. What kind of dumb schedule is that?
Well, it was 15 hours, and we pulled in at 2 o'clock in the afternoon after traveling all night, and that was one of the worst. Travel days ever. But you get through it. We were watching the Blacklist on the bus because Ole brought season 1, so that helped pass the time. When you pop that in there, those hours fly by a little quicker. And but it is a brutal trip, but we got through it, and it's good when you have a travel day like that and you win the game. It just makes it not as bad.
So is Blacklist, is that the new superstition? A big run of that for wins?
Yeah, I don't know, but we put it in there, and guys like it, and we're watching it. So if that's what it takes, we'll keep watching it.
Excellent. Next is Mike from Chaska, who says, Alonzo Harris is really hitting well of late. Do you see him as a key to your offense really taking it to the level you're looking for?
We know what kind of player he is, and he got off to a slow start, but lately he's been swinging it better, and he can do so many things, and obviously it's such an important thing to have him, our leadoff hitter, get on base and come up with big hits, and again, he has swung the bat better lately.
A few Major League Baseball questions for you. First, Neil says that he saw that they're talking about Jake Arrieta and Madison Bumgarner in the home run hitting contest at the All-Star game. Wouldn't that be cool?
I think that would be great if they did that, and why not give it a shot, do something different. I think that's a better idea than have whoever wins the All-Star game get home field advantage in the World Series. I think these two guys in the home run derby is by far a way better idea than that other one.
Who would you think would win in that home run hitting contest?
Well, obviously I've seen Bumgarner. He's done it so much, and he's hit so many home runs. I don't know who the better hitter is, but from what I've seen, it seems like every other time Bumgarner pitches, he comes up with a big hitter. It's a big home run. So that would be neat, though. I think that would be a cool thing if that happened.
I think that'd be awesome. People in the contest, that'd be great. Jenny from St. Paul has a question for you. She says, George, everyone seems to be worried about all these beanball incidences. Shouldn't they be worried that someone is going to be seriously hurt by one of these bench-clearing brawls? 50 guys all hitting each other seems like someone is going to get seriously hurt sometime. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, those things are, those brawls, man, they're scary, man. It's just, you never know what can happen in those brawls. You can get cheap-shotted, and you hope that it doesn't happen, but we saw what happened the other day with the Royals and the Orioles, and you can't blame Machado at all for charging the mound and what he did, because that pitcher for the Royals, Ventura, I mean, what did somebody say? He's just a fake tough guy. He just thinks he can just throw at people and get behind his teammates. It's really he should have got a longer suspension, if you ask me, because how many times are you going to do that? And his own players got to be getting sick of him.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to value the talent of a 100-mile-an-hour thrower versus a guy who's putting his teammates in danger that way.
Yeah, I know one thing. If he was in the National League hitting, he wouldn't be doing it.
Probably right there. Eddie from Little Canada would like to know, didn't you think it was really disappointing that Jake Arrieta suffered his first loss to the Braves?
Yeah, it's weird how it works, but I think he'll get through it. I think he'll be okay, and he is just something else. So many quality starts, and he just keeps going.
Is this a case of just the Braves having a great night, or do you think you kind of let up as a pitcher because of how difficult a season they're having?
Yeah, I definitely don't think he let up in any way, and any player that does that lets up shouldn't be doing it then. It's just one of those nights. The other team played better, and it happens.
Charlie from Richfield would like to know if you see there's any way that the Twins don't finish with the worst record.
I really haven't followed much. I really don't get to see any of the games because obviously we're playing every day. It's just unfortunate what's going on there, and you just wish they can turn it around and just put together one big winning streak. Just wish you can put one together and get on a roll, but it just hasn't happened yet.
We have a few baseball questions for you. The first one is Sean from Maplewood, who wants to know, what is a good way to judge as an outfielder if you should hit the cutoff man or make the throw directly?
Well, you should hit the cutoff man. You should always hit the cutoff man, and I mean, nobody wants those throws that sail over everybody's head to give the guy that maybe got the base hit a free base. You should always be trying to hit that cutoff man and keep the throw low, and if the throw's late, then at least they have the option to cut it off and maybe throw somebody else out.
And from Egan would like to know if you recommend having younger players try every position, even if they show aptitude at one.
When they're younger, young kids, I think it's great. Try different spots, and eventually it'll play out. What position each kid is best at, and but I don't think there's anything wrong with trying different ones. As you get older, again, it'll dictate, where he should play.
Our next one comes from a person identifying himself as coach. He says, Skipper, I am finding it harder and harder to coach players these days because they all feel entitled to, well, everything. Do you find this challenge, and if so, what do you do?
There's times that we've had to deal with that same thing, and some guys do it right. Some players have the right attitude and do it right and work so hard, and we have a lot of guys on this team that work so hard and do it the right way. But there's times players do feel entitled to this, entitled to that. Maybe they had a good year the year before or 3 years before, and it's no different than me telling you at the beginning of the season, yeah, you can like your team on paper, but it doesn't matter what they did before. They got to go out there and get the job done. So nobody should be entitled to anything. Everybody has to go out there and work hard every day and go out there and get the job done every day, because year to year, you never know if you're going to have a good year or a bad year.
Is that something that you try to get across to the players yourself, or do you want the locker room to kind of straighten that kind of thing out?
At the beginning of the year, I tell them what I have to tell them, and it's great that maybe guys are coming off good years, but again, it doesn't matter what you did in the past. It's a new year. Every year is a new year, and you got to go out there and be your best and work hard to be the best you can be, because you just don't know what's going to happen.
A couple of football questions for you. First of all is Kyle from Rochester. He says, Brandon Marshall wants to come back to the Broncos. Does it make sense for them to be pursuing a wide receiver like that when Mark Sanchez is their quarterback?
Yeah, I really haven't followed that at all, so I really don't know anything about it. But if you can get him, I don't think it matters who the quarterback is. You get him, but again, I don't really know that situation.
Jeremy from Forest Lake says he was listening to Rob's show he does with Pete Rose and heard that Pete hates the Steelers. You have a lot of respect for Pittsburgh. Tell us why Cincinnati will not be as good as the Steelers.
I did love watching the Steelers play. They're so exciting, and the Bengals are always good. They're always good, but I think we talked about it way back when it happened, how they decided they wanted to lose that game because they wanted to do some things that were wrong, and with those silly penalties, and you just can't keep doing that over and over, and they actually found a way to give that game away.
Well, you talk about, too, is that you think Antonio Brown is really maybe even the best player in the league.
Yeah, he is somehow. I mean, how can you not like that guy? He's so fast. He's a little guy, just so fast, and what a special player.
DeAndre would like to know if you have a favorite Muhammad Ali moment.
No, I just remember him growing up when I was a little kid, and he was the greatest guy, and he told everybody he was the greatest, and back then it's like, when you hear that, you're like, maybe somebody needs to shut him up, but most times nobody could shut him up. He backed it up, and he was a great guy to watch.
As much show as he was about what happened in the ring, as much out as in, it was pretty impressive.
Yeah, it was something.
Helen from Brainerd asks, is our final question. She says, whenever a player's in a slump, I will hear analysts say something that there must be trouble at home, like Tiger Woods has not been as good since he got divorced. Does it really work that way?
Yeah, there's sometimes, people have, off the field, people have lives, and sometimes there's problems off the field, and you just never know what's going on in somebody's mind, and you just really don't know. And but when you're on the field, you have to try to do the best you can just to keep all the personal stuff off the field. But sometimes it is tough because life is tough, and you just hope you can, when you're between the lines there, you can just put everything else aside.
Well, George, thanks for joining us this week.
Okay, thank you. We'll see you later.
We want to thank Manager George Tsamis for joining us on Strike Zone this week. If you have your own questions you'd like to ask the St. Paul Saints skipper, please send them to us at AskGeorge@minorleaguesportsreport.com. That's AskGeorge@minorleaguesportsreport.com. Please have your questions to us by Saturday evening so we can give the skipper a little time to review the questions before we record the show. I want to thank you for joining us this week. I'm Rob Pannier, the managing editor of the Minor League Sports Report, and we'll see you next time on Strike Zone.